While I edited this video, I realized that I didn't introduce myself. I'm Katie, and I helped Steph make her bouquets for her first wedding. I hope you guys enjoy making the bouquets and that they are beautiful, and you, just get to learn something new and just get to enjoy the day together. Have fun.
Center them. You want them to kind of spray out, and then once we have all of the pieces of fern together and eucalyptus, then we're gonna bring it all together with the floral tape and then cut the stems so they're all pieced together, but you really want to have them sprayed out while you're piecing it together. That gives a more full look. So I'm just gonna go ahead and throw some eucalyptus in there. So I'm just kind of eyeballing it at first, and it kind of looks weird as you first begin to put it together, but sooner or later it starts to come together more. These are pretty small stems, so it might feel weird as you're piecing them together. So if you can see, I'm looking into the FaceTime camera, but I can come a little closer. You see how it's kind of going into a circle. You're just gonna keep going around and piecing them together. One thing you also want to pay attention to is you don't want to have any outliers. So this one is kind of way out there. So you might even consider, rather than putting this equal with all the other ones, you might want to bring it down a little bit lower. So my leaves are here, and I might just tuck this down, and later on we'll clip these off of here. So you have some of the eucalyptus that's sprayed there on the bottom. Sorry you guys, I kind of have a cold, so if you hear me sniffling, that's why. So you see this one is pretty droopy, so I'm gonna actually tuck that right down pretty low here, and the more the merrier on this. You wanna have it look kind of full and symmetrical. As you go around and you make your way around, you just wanna eyeball it. You can put your ferns a little bit lower, and that gives it a more full, round look. So I'm just going to keep on going, and this would be like a good time for you to kind of hold it. Your hand really should be right around your belly button while you're holding your bouquet, and you want to, rather than just holding it straight up, you want to tilt it a little bit, and this would be a good time to either check in the mirror or check with a friend and see if there's any, if this piece wasn't here, if this was gone, you could almost see that there's kind of a bald spot right there. So pay attention to some of that. And so I think this one for a bridesmaid looks about right. You could add a couple more sprigs down here of eucalyptus if you wanted to. You don't have to. I'll just add maybe one or two more. Yeah, I think that looks good. I might switch some of these around so there's some eucalyptus kind of in the middle, so it's not only fern in the middle. You want to have a good variety here. All right, so I think that looks good. So we're gonna go ahead now and to secure this, we're gonna first start with our green floral tape. So you wanna get that open ahead of time, which I didn't do. So I'm just gonna rip mine actually. I wanna have scissors too, but I don't know where mine are at the moment, so we're just gonna wing it. Alright, so what you're going to do with this green floral tape, it's not very sticky. You'll feel it doesn't really stick to anything, but it'll stick to itself as you wrap it. So this is where a friend is going to come in handy. So mine's not going to look exactly like yours. So what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna have one of you hold the bouquet, hold it really tight up here where your leaves begin, and then you're gonna take a little bit of it. We're gonna cut all these crazy ends off, but we're just gonna wrap this really tightly, probably about 3 inches or so, maybe 4 inches, starting pretty high up, maybe at the bottom of the last leaf right here. We're gonna start that, and that'll hold them all together in place. So I'm just gonna rip off a piece of my green floral tape. You can go ahead and use scissors if you want. So this is where your friend is gonna come in handy. I'm just gonna kind of do it with one hand. So if you can see what I'm doing here, started right here, my finger's on it, and then you're just gonna wrap pretty tightly here. And this is gonna hold them all together, and we're gonna cover this green floral tape with some prettier ribbon. I'm just gonna keep going. If you're good at it, you probably could do it on your own, but since there's multiple of you, you kind of can do it together. So I'm just gonna, you can even, once you get to that like 3 or 4 inch mark, you can go up again, so you have like a couple of layers there. All right, so that is the green floral tape on this particular bouquet, just like that. Let me see if I can find my scissors. My house is so quiet. The baby is asleep, and my husband's in seminary class right now, so it's just me and a bunch of flowers. So we're gonna go ahead and trim some of these ends off. And I didn't show this part because I did it before I started the video, but you're gonna have to go ahead and prep all of the greenery in order to get this started. So I'll explain a little bit of that after I try to cut all of these stems off. Sometimes it's almost even easier to just snap them off in certain places once you've cut them a little bit. Okay, so there we have that one. You can kind of see here, this little guy is kind of falling, and so what you could do, if you notice while you're holding yours that there's kind of some, you could really just go ahead and cut that particular stem off if there's some outliers. But if you wanted to keep that, you could just go ahead and get another piece of that floral tape and just tape this bad boy right up there. So I'm just gonna, for the sake of the demonstration, I'm just gonna clip mine. And there's a couple of flowers here, or leaves here that we're gonna go ahead and just trim off. So really it's just as long as it's aesthetically pleasing and not gonna just fall apart as you're walking down the aisle, that's the goal. It's about Steph and Daniel anyways, so this is just accentuating all of the good parts about the beauty of marriage. Okay, here we have this bridesmaid bouquet. And so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna just cover up this ugly green floral tape. And so we have, Steph should have these pieces of ribbon. You could either go ahead and cut maybe 12 or 16 inches of a piece of white ribbon and a piece of lace. And you're just gonna do the same thing as you did with the green floral tape. You're gonna wanna I just kind of do a little piece right here and put my finger there, and as I wrap, I'm just gonna release my finger after I've wrapped it a couple of times. So I don't need my finger really there. You wanna make sure it's pretty tight going around. You're gonna go all the way down and past the green floral tape. So you see I just have a little floral tape there at the bottom, but of course mine unraveled. Maybe I do need my finger there today. It's late, you guys. It's so late here. So I went past the green, and then I'm gonna make my way back up just a little bit. And then towards the end, you're gonna wanna leave about an inch, inch and a half. And then what you're gonna do is you're going to bend it backwards like this. So that edge, that not fine edge there from where you cut it is tucked away. And so this is my nice edge. I'm gonna just tuck this here, and then we're gonna pin it with a floral pin. Just one pin. You're not gonna wanna push the pin straight in because it's gonna come out the other side. This isn't thick enough to not have a pin that you're gonna go in with the pin and then you're gonna go downward. And so the sharp edge of the pin won't go through the other side, it'll just be facing downward. And really, one, maybe two would be sufficient for this size of bouquet, and that's about it. So the thing is, I'm just going to tell you what type of greenery we're using and kind of how to prep it, and then we'll get started. So these right here smell heavenly. My house smells so good right now. These are silver dollar eucalyptus. They come in pretty tall branches like this one. I've kind of picked apart some of the branches, and so in order to prep this, what you're going to want to do is you're going to look at a branch. It's going to have maybe 3 or 4 twigs on it. You're going to just snap those twigs off so they're bouquet friendly size. And then if you'll look at one of yours, you'll probably see that the flowers or the leaves on these particular ones kind of go far down. And so what you're going to do is you're going to just take your finger and you're just going to slide those leaves off, so that way you have enough space for where you're going to hold, that you don't have leaves in your hands. So I'll give you an example. This one's pretty good, so let me see if I can find one. All right, so this one, for example, this stalk is kind of short, so what you would do in order to make the stalk longer is you would just slide your hands down and you just take off one of those leaves and throw it away. So yeah, that's silver dollar eucalyptus. And this, the properties of silver dollar are really interesting because, as you can see, I'm holding this one and it sticks straight up. There's not much movement. It's pretty sturdy. But then you see this one here. This has a draping property to it, so this gives a lot of voluminous effect. This gives bouquets just, yeah, a lot of volume and makes them look really beautiful. Okay, so the next leaf we're going to use is the leatherleaf fern. These are your typical ferns that you see outside or at plant nurseries, Steph's parents' backyard. So what you're going to do to prep these is you're going to look at it. These leaves, branches go pretty far down as well, and so you're not going to want so many because they are a full foliage. You're going to get a lot of volume with a few of these. So what you're going to do is you're going to do the same thing with the eucalyptus, and you're just going to pull a couple of these off, just like that, so you have a good stalk to work with. Alright, so this video we're actually going to make Stephanie's bouquet, including the flowers that we're going to use. And so these are spray roses. So pretty. They smell really good too. The florist made me smell them before I left today. Okay, so these spray roses actually have already fully bloomed, and so I got them at a discount today because they're honestly about to fall apart. So the ones that you guys will have will be a little bit tighter, and so in order to open, they're probably going to look something more like this when you see them. So what you're going to do to open them up a little bit is you're going to just lightly put your fingers inside the petals, and you can just trying to manipulate them to open them up just a little bit. These don't really need any help opening because, like I said, they're a few days old now. Alright, so in order to do Stephanie's bouquet, we're going to do exactly the same thing as what we did with the first video. And we're going to, we're just going to start piecing things together and eyeballing with a friend or in the mirror. And to prep these, you're going to, like I said, you're going to just kind of peel them open a little bit. But then also the stems are going to be really long. I've already cut these a significant amount. And the ones that you get might have thorns on them. So what you're going to do is you're going to just take your scissors, you're going to open your scissors like this, and you're just going to slice the thorns off. These were already, thankfully, the thorns were already taken off, but that's all you really need to do. And then you're going to want to cut them kind of at an angle, just enough to have a good stalk on them for the bouquet itself. And so for these, I like to start with 2 flowers to get my spray. Like I said in the last video, you don't want them to be completely parallel to one another. So I'm just going to go ahead and do what I did like in the last part of the video, and just, of course, I have low battery now on my phone. I'm just going to start piecing different things together and seeing what it looks like in the camera. Just start putting it together. You have creative freedom to do whatever you would like with this. Sky's the limit, probably here. So this twig is kind of obnoxious, so I'm probably going to just toss that one to the side and use some of these smaller ones. So you can see I'm kind of eyeballing what it's going to look like. And if you look here, I got some good greenery on this side, but there's kind of this missing empty hole right here. So if you just watch, I'll just kind of fill that hole in right there and just keep going all the way around. You can have a friend watch you, or look at yourself in the mirror as you continue to go around. So you could either, I only have a handful of roses today, so you could either just start with the bulk of your roses here and do the greenery around. That's what we did for Stephanie's first bouquet. Or you could just kind of mix and match, kind of freedom of choice. If you have more flowers, you can mix and match going around with both greenery and flowers. But if you only have a couple of flowers, you want to kind of centralize them. So I'm just piecing the greenery, and as you go around, you're going to notice that my greenery is going to get lower and lower all the way around. So before I was starting, my leaves are starting up here, and now I'm just going to place these a little bit lower so you get that full symmetrical look. So that's looking pretty good. It's hard, I don't have a mirror myself, but that's okay. I'm just gonna eyeball it in the FaceTime camera. That's the benefit of filming this. So I'm about out of ferns here. This is quite less than what I worked with while in Miami. but that's okay. I think this would fill in good here. And I'm just gonna go back around and add some more of this eucalyptus. Just kind of, and like I said before, I'm gonna, rather than placing this really up high, I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of bring it down a little bit so it fills it in. As you can see, if I'm just holding this kind of like this, a couple of these are pretty tall, so this one I'm gonna just kind of scoot down as well. And they manipulate pretty easily, so you don't feel like you have to be super delicate with them. They'll move around for you. And you can kind of tuck them in or move them around if you need to, kind of like that. I think that should be good. So there you go. We have our spray roses and our eucalyptus and our ferns. Hope you guys enjoy.